Yeah, so as you already know about the basics of Abinitio, already worked as Abinitio developer, so it will be easy for you to uh, begin with this course. The course syllabus part of it, it's already there in YouTube. I think hopefully you have gone multiple times with that. So again, I have a document. I will share it after this session. I had it in my backup. I'll share it. And
Yeah.
to get started with Abinitio, Abinitio is the data solution. It is at the enterprise level data solution. It's not just an ETL tool. There are a number of ETL tools, but Abinitio is one of the leading Abinitio tool, means ETL tool. So the top big banks who has huge data, banks and insurance companies and some of the airline companies as well. Nowadays, I see some of the retail companies also started using Abinitio tool. I thought at some point Abinitio might end and some other tool will come and replace it. But it's continuously evolving. It's continuously getting updated with the latest trends with the containers, cloud and DevOps space, and they keep enhancing their products. And it's more most so Abinitio is already robust tool in terms of performance and the uh, the the maintenance part of it, but still they are continuously evolving that tool and adding more enhancements to it to make it more robust and to keep it up to date with the current IT market, means current requirements of the companies. Okay, so that's a brief overview about Abinitio, where it stands right now in the market. And Abinitio is always a hot skill in the market. People who has this skill, they are highly paid, including India. I'm not sure about US how it is.
Yeah, it is decent, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And along with Abnisho, if you can learn a little bit of DevOps and cloud, you will be definitely in good demand. So that's the trend I see in India now. So with that skill, you'll be able to get target high packages here.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so
So Praveen,
yeah, please.
do you have any high level kind of a layout of the how it is basically going to be organized? Like, day one, what all topics you are going to cover,
Yeah, yeah. So
and
okay, okay.
the syllabus kind of a thing, right?
Yes, yes,
So
I have that in backup. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. So I will share it after this session. So I thought this will be
okay,
introduction session. I'm sharing it today.
sure.
Yeah, so since most of them didn't join, so only we just get started. Otherwise, it should have been only introduction. Okay, I'll share that after this
Right.
session. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I think there is no much need of Abnish introduction to you. So you already aware of it, right? So we'll get started with the architecture of
Yeah.
Abnish. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. So I'll just draw a small diagram and explain you how the
Mhm.
architecture of Abinitio. So let's say we have a Linux server. Let's say this is a Linux server. Just assume it's an empty server. On top of it, we will install the core Abinitio software. We call it as a co-operating system. Co-operating system is nothing but it's the core software of Abinitio. On top of this software, all the Abinitio tools are built. This is the heart of Abinitio, I can say. So everything, so all there are a number of tools, around 10, 15 frameworks and Abinitio tools are there, including web-based tools. All those tools has to integrate with the co-operating system. Otherwise, they'll not get the functionality of Abinitio. So this is the main software of Abinitio. They call it as a co-operating system.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
and the architecture, the main pillars of Abinitio is EME, which is a repository where all the Abinitio code gets saved in it. So whenever a developers develop some applications on top of Omnishow, they have to store that in a centralized location in a version control tool, which is nothing but a EME. Recently, they renamed it to technical
Mhm.
repository. So if you know about GitHub, it's similar to that. It's a version control tool.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll just write a short name. TR is nothing but technical repository. This is one of the core pillar of the architecture. And we have GDE. This is the primary development tool of Abinitio. So GDE is nothing but graphical development environment, the tool name. So by using this tool, it's a primary tool, a primary development tool of Abinitio. By using this tool, so the developers develop the Abinitio applications by just dragging and dropping the Abinitio components. So which are components is nothing but a predefined code. There are around 1,000 components, I can say, as of now, including customized components. For each purpose, there is a component. They just have to drag and drop it in the canvas. I'll show that how the GD looks like in the canvas at all. So we just have to drag and drop the components and connect them through the ports, and there is a little bit modification required in each component, like DML and which database it has to connect, and the DBC configuration file, and some other options are there to customize your application. So basically, to reduce the coding part of the development, they came up with this concept, the graphical development approach of developing applications. And most of the coding part is simplified. You just have to use the already predefined components and connect them according to your requirement. Suppose if you are migrating code from, if you want to process the data from various sources and transform it through ETL and load it to target database, right? In this way, you will have a source database component, and you will do reformat, join with the Abinitio, and then you will finally load it into your target data lake or data warehouse database. And in between, just to modify means, so this will be a raw components. You will have to input your server name, a DBC file name, what DML format of the data, and how the transform has to happen, which components, which columns or which rows has to be dropped, which needs to be added, etc. We'll do it in the reformat, and finally we'll load it to target database. So that's the total ETL process we'll do with the GDE. And there are a number of varieties we can do with this by using these components. So like I said, there are many components, around 1,000, I can say. Okay, so I'll show again in this in detail when we dive deep. So just as part of architecture, I'm trying to explain. And rest of the applications I'll put it in one box. Like there are around 10 tools. Like we have the next tool is the Expressit. So Expressit is a browser-based application. So by using this tool, Abinitio developers, and this is the main purpose of Expressit is to simplify the development part of it. And so most of the time, this will be used by the business users who has less technical expertise on Abinitio. So they will have a framework in the browser through this tool, and they simply modify the rules. We call it as a business rules application configurations. Earlier they name it as a ACBRE, right? Now they renamed it to Explicit. So we can have, so there are number of frameworks Omnisho developed, and they will provide to their customers. And on top of it, we can also develop our own explicit app. We call it as a app cons. So whatever the code we develop on GDE, so the extension for GDE developed code is .mp. For the explicit application as developed, right? So we call it, the extension is appconf. Okay, so again, all these tools will go through in detail and how to install, configure, and what is the purpose of that tool. But just overview I'm giving here. Okay, so Expressit is mainly developed for a business user who has less technical expertise to simplify the development part of it and reuse the existing code. So basically, we create the templates, and on top of templates, we create the rules to utilize the templates. Okay, and next tool is,
So one question, Praveen.
yeah, please.
So in Expressit, can we actually create like a graph itself, like the way we do in GDE? Can we do the same thing in Expressit?
Yes, we can do. But the preferred approach is GDE, but in Express, so develop the templates in GDE and access them through Express. and you can also create the means graphs or graphs is not preferred way. So basically, we create the templates in Expressed and reuse them with the
Okay.
like how we create a plan and a set, right, in GDE. Here they call it as a app conf and the rules.
Okay. Yeah, maybe even you can show us a little more, then we
Yeah,
get
sure,
understanding better.
sure. So mostly it will come under development part of it, so we don't deal with it. But theoretically, I can explain.
Mm.
So next tool is control center. This is the monitoring and the scheduling tool of Abinitio. So all the Abinitio tools can be monitored from this centralized location, which is nothing but a control center. And it's also a scheduler. We can schedule all the Abinitio jobs in it, and uh, according to our requirement, we can schedule based on which time it has to run and which day it has to run. So all those options are there in control center. So basically, it's just a scheduling and monitoring tool for all the Omniscient jobs, and it's one of the widely used tool. But some clients prefer to use third-party schedulers like AutoSys, Control M, and some other open source tools. But most of the Omniscient users they go for a control center. Okay, so control center as a client server architecture is a three-tier architecture basically. It will have a it's a browser-based tool and it will be deployed on a middleware like a Tomcat, WebSphere or WebLogic, even Expressit. And on Control Center has a database additionally to store the operational data. So suppose it has processed some jobs today, and it will keep that history when that job ran and what is the utilization of resources and how much time it ran and what data it has. It will maintain everything, all the job stats which are required in an MNC to go back and look for it.
Mhm.
Okay, so it will have the database, RDBMS database at the back end to store the job information, and that's a critical part of control center. So we need to have the regular backups of it, and we need to maintain the health of the control center, etc. So that will come under in detail discussion. Okay, it's basically monitoring scheduling tool. Okay, and the next tool is Metadata Hub. I'll just write it as a Mhub. Mhub, in the name itself, it says it's a metadata hub. So across the organization, we can pull the metadata from all the databases, including the NoSQL databases, and put it into one centralized repository. And that data will give by using the data at enterprise level, we can do the data governance and data stewardship and data quality. To maintain the data quality, also we use Mhub. Okay. So across the organizations, so the Mhub is very critical part of knowing your data. So we can pull the cross organization metadata into one location. On top of that, we can generate various business reports, and also most of the data governance team they to understand the data. The metadata is a critical part of it. So which data we have and what is the purpose of maintaining it, etc. They will be analyzing and they will be reporting to business. So this tool is also one of the critical tool in Omnisho solution. So this is widely used across banks. So it has a three-tier architecture. So we'll have it's a browser-based tool, and it will be deployed on a middleware application server, and in backend it will have the RDBMS database to store all this metadata. So
So
next,
when you say metadata,
hmm,
one question, Praveen.
yeah,
So metadata means, say, for example, I'm reading some data, right? Some HDFS file.
hmm, hmm.
So is metadata how I'm going to store the information about that data that we read? Is
No,
that
no, no, no.
how it works?
No. So when you generate the data, so it will have. See, suppose you are developing a Abnisho graph, right? So when you develop,
Mhm.
so there we have a option called enable the lineage, data lineage. So so as part
Yeah.
of the lineage, you have to so the data it will give you the overview of that means overall picture of that data when it has generated, where it has generated, how it has transformed into this server, and from there what changes we have made on that data, and so etc details will be captured. So from how that data generated and how that data is consumed till that time we'll have that metadata, right? So if you enable the lineage in while developing your Abinitio code, that that will have the entire metadata. So that metadata will be imported into Mhub. Like that, for every database or data, wherever data is there, it will have some metadata. Like suppose let's take a Hive. Hive also generates some kind of metadata. So that will be imported into Mhub, and the relevant people will be analyzing that data. And data governance team, there is a big team for data governance and chief data office, we call it, right? So they will be consuming this metadata. I'll be explaining in detail about this in the coming sections. So just to overview will cover in this session. Okay. Okay. And next tool we have is the query it. Query it, I think it's rarely used. Only some of the companies they will be using it. So query it is nothing but you can query any kind of data by using query tool. Suppose any kind of database, I mean to say. So you can query any kind of database by connecting to that database by using query it without copying the data to your local database or the data sources. So suppose you have 10 databases. Some of them are SQL means RDB mesh. Some of them are NoSQL databases. You can still connect to all those 10 databases by using their DB name, DB server name, port, and the user ID password. There is no need of copying them to some other source or connecting to it, right? Because they are different sources and different type of data formats it stores. Regardless of that, by using query, you can connect to means any kind of database virtually and query those databases regardless of their format. And by just using the dbc file, we call it a database configuration file. By using the database connection details like server name, db name, etc., we can connect to the database and query it. Once you query that, so you will simply write an sql query to connect to the database and query something. So that query you can convert into Abinitio graph and save it and reuse it. So that's the whole purpose of a query. Suppose you got some source and you want to analyze it for the first time for your development and Abinitio design. You will use this tool to analyze the data and query the data and analyze it, and then you will take it forward to development. So only some of the organizations using this tool, they might be having the different solution to analyze the initial data or query the data from various databases. But Abinitio has a solution. I see some of the companies use, including my current company. So we'll be talking about this tool as well, and it will have the 3-tier architecture like Mhub and control center, and but it comes with its own database. So we don't have a choice to customize it. So whenever we install this tool, the database also gets created by itself. It's nothing but a Postgres database, Postgres SQL database. Okay, and we have one more important tool called authorization gateway, which is not, we call it in short form AG. So authorization gateway is nothing but it will enable the, it's a centralized location to manage all the access related authentication and authorization for all the Abinitio tools. We cannot integrate third party tools, but we can integrate all the Abinitio tools. Like, so there are other browser based tools like Explicit Control Center, Mhub, one more tool called a TRW. TRW is nothing but web based DME, technical repository web interface, we call it in full terms. It's a browser based tool to access EME. So EME is accessible two ways. One is through commands from server and through browser. Browser has a limited functionalities, but it has good functionalities which doesn't have on the server. So to check any graph or the existing code in a graphical user interface, we use TRW. And just to see the code in a text format, and to perform the maintenance part of it or other operations on technical repository, we use the air commands, we call it. Okay, that's about TRW. And so AG, we use it as a authentication authorization gateway. So all these tools which I have mentioned, this architecture can be integrated with AG except GDE. GDE is just a, it doesn't require authentication. It requires the user ID and password to connect to the server. But all other tools, it require user ID password that can be managed in a central location. So in AG, it's a three-tier architecture tool. It will have a UI and a middleware and the database. So we can create the users in AG and allocate the required roles to these tools. So some people might be performing the development part of Expressit, so they will have the only that role allocated to their ID. And in control center also, we will have a number of roles. Like a development team, they just want to monitor the jobs, so we'll allocate only monitoring roles to that development team. And for production support team, they need a full access, like running the job, rerunning the job, just look at the logs and schedule the job at after 1 hour from now. So there are a number of requirements for production support. So for them, we'll allocate the that production support related roles. Like that, some people only want monitor roles. Some people need read only role. So we can customize according to the user requirement by using AG. And we can also have the groups created and allocate the roles to groups and add the users to that group so that everyone in that group will get the same access. Okay. And similarly for all other tools like Mhub, Query, TRW, these tools has different roles for different kind of users. So these roles can be assigned to different users and manage their access in a centralized location. And we can integrate AG with your enterprise level Active Directory so that the creation of users and maintaining the users is completely automated. You don't need to create them and maintain them. So it will all happen through Active Directory. You just have to enable this Active Directory integration from AG by making the configuration changes. And from then onwards, and that AD groups we need to configure in AG. So whoever gets added to that AD group, they will have the required access which we assigned there. Okay, and it can also be we can also enable the SSO logins by using AG for all the Abinitio tools. So to maintain the security part of it, compliance. Some companies they allow only SSO login for all their tools. So it's a compliance thing for some of the banks. So that also we can enable by using AG. So this is the overall architecture of Abinitio. There may be some more tools in our they will come, like we'll discuss about. We'll also discuss about DevOps, how to migrate the Abinitio code by using DevOps from one server to other server. The entire flow of the code migration, we call it through DevOps. And we also discuss about, it's a big topic, Hadoop, Abinitio on Hadoop. So what is the difference when compared to normal cluster and Hadoop cluster, and how to integrate Abinitio with Hadoop? What settings are required? Those will be covered as part of this topic. Abinitio on Cloud. These additional things I'll be covering as part of this course along with these tools. So these tools itself, it's a big concepts, each of them. The co-operating system, it's a big concept. It will take a longer time, and it has some more hidden concepts. This is the high level overview, and it for each tool there are number of configurations, a number of dependent changes and tools we need to install. I'll be covering them. And additionally, we have here a key server. I'll just write it here so that you will have. Key server is nothing but so every Abinitio user needs a certain license to use Abinitio tools. So without the license, Abinitio users cannot connect to the Abinitio servers and start developing their applications. To maintain that user licenses, we need a key server, and that key server. So as admin, we need to maintain that key server and install the key bundles on the key server. So whenever a new user gets added, we'll maintain an Excel sheet template. So we'll keep adding the new users to that Excel sheet, and we'll be sending it to Abinitio vendor and get the bundle back to us and install it on top of the key server. So that whenever a user connects to Abinitio server, his ID will be validated, and which tool he has access, that will be also validated, and that connection gets forward. Otherwise, he will get a error like you don't have the license to use this tool. And the key server has two parts of it. One is user key bundle and the server license key bundle. So server license also we need. Without server license, we cannot work with Abinitio, even though you have the user license. So to enable that, we have to maintain the server license keys. That server license keys, there are two ways to maintain them. One is through key server. Otherwise, we can directly install it on the server.